Hi, welcome. My name is Sebastian, and today I want to speak about the spiritual purpose from a higher vibrational perspective. I want to speak about how to step into it. And before starting, if you are new to the channel, feel free to subscribe or leave a comment. And I also do one-on-one coaching sessions. So if you are interested in working with me, feel free to send me a message. Also, I have a spiritual podcast called Consciously Awakening. So if you wish to be part of the spiritual podcast, feel free to also send me a message. Now, today I want to speak about the spiritual purpose from a higher vibrational perspective, from a perspective that represents our creativity, that fulfills our soul and our essence. Now, the fifth dimensional level of consciousness is something that represents a higher density of consciousness. It is something that represents a smoother way in which reality works. And the fifth dimensional level of consciousness actually holds your soul's mission. Okay, it holds the creativity in necessary for you to actually achieve your soul's purpose. Now we are going through a huge shift in consciousness on the planet, and people are awakening to a higher state of awareness. We are awakening to the vibration of love. We are awakening to forgiveness. We are awakening to higher consciousness. And I realized that in this process, the more that time goes by, is the more that we actually evolve into higher awareness. And from my perspective, if you really want to follow your spiritual soul's mission, you gotta step into a higher awareness. You gotta step into higher consciousness. Now, there's a difference between the third dimension and the fifth dimension. The fifth dimension represents oneness, and the third dimension represents separation. Now, what I've seen in my own journey was the fact that we are actually one family, one tribe, one consciousness. And the more that we see this oneness in the universe, is the more that we actually begin to step into the process of working for the other, because now we see ourselves in the other. Okay, so it's about serving. It's not about doing things for the self. It's more likely about sharing things for the collective. So my suggestion is, if you really want to step into your soul's mission from a higher vibrational perspective, you gotta attune yourself to creating also for others. Okay, you gotta begin to offer your services to the world. And it's important to not operate from the ego in this process. It's important to actually listen to your guidance, and it's important to listen to your spirit, because the spirit knows, your higher self knows. It knows how to guide you. It knows how to offer you the intuition necessary for you to actually step into your soul's mission. And everybody has a unique soul mission. It may not necessarily be the same thing for everybody. It may be something that represents your unique soul signature. So my suggestion is, if you really want to step into your soul's mission, ask yourself, what is my unique path? Because when you put in the question, you also open the space for an answer. And it's usually related to the things that you are actually passionate about. It's related to the things that you actually resonate with. So the more that you step into your gifts, the more that you step into your own intuition, the more that you step into your own talents, is the more that you are actually achieving your soul's purpose. And what I'm seeing in my own journey is the fact that the creative process is actually important. And I gotta ask myself, who do I create for? Do I only create for myself, or do I actually want to help the world expand with me? And at some level, I'm also doing it for myself, but at some other level, I'm also doing it for the collective, and for the collective consciousness to actually expand itself. And I'm seeing that the more that I raise my consciousness, the more that I raise my intuition, the more that I step into a higher vibrational reality, is the more that I get to actually shift my life in a different way. Is the more that I become aware of my thought patterns and my programming, and it's the more that I get to actually put in the work that actually reflects my gifts and talents. So it's about really going deeper into the self. Because the sole purpose is related to our creativity and our actions, but at the same time it's also related to a state of beingness. You don't always have to be in the doing mode if you want to fulfill your sole purpose. It's also about attuning your state of consciousness to a state of beingness, because I believe that there is so much power in beingness and being content with where we are. And I think that it's really important to make peace with where we are. It's important to make peace with our circumstances in our lives. It's important to make peace with other people. It's important to actually step into our heart space. So yes, it's about doing, but it's also about being. And really, when you raise your frequency to the next level, and when you step into a higher density, when you step into a higher vibrational reality, you realize that doing becomes so much easier. You realize that you have now activated within your DNA structure certain frequencies that actually allow you to be in a higher vibrational state of consciousness. And when you step into this, you realize that you are connected to the whole universe. You are connected to your true spirit. You are connected to your higher self. You are connected to that inner guidance. So my suggestion is, if you really want to follow your soul's mission, the first step is to actually question what it is. And the answer usually comes in a way that represents your passions. The answer comes in a way that represents your curiosities. The answer comes in a way that represents your interests. So if you really want to become that space of a creative person, you gotta go deeper within yourself and really ask yourself the big questions. And if you are on the spiritual path, you realize that you are actually destined to accomplish your soul's spiritual mission. And when you become the space of creativity, when you become the space of higher consciousness, when you become the space of higher awareness, you realize that everything that is happening in your life is actually happening in relationship with yourself. And when you get to actually program and deprogram your belief systems, your thought patterns, you realize that there are so many gifts within your own consciousness. You realize that there are so many gifts within your vibrational frequency, and you get to actually express those things into the world. Okay, so the next step would be self-expression. How do you express yourself? What is your consciousness about today? What are the things that you are actually focusing on? Because where you place your attention is where the energy goes. Energy flows where attention goes. So what are you focusing on? How healthy are you today? What are you consuming for your subconscious mind? What are you consuming for your state of beingness? How much do you move into your body? What are you reading? What is your mind curious about? And there are so many tools that you can actually focus on. There are so many things that you can do in order to increase your frequency and to attract the reality that you want to experience. So it's about really gathering all the tools that you have. It's about gathering all the consciousness that you have. It's about gathering all the unique perspectives that you have and putting them into practice. Because what you practice will actually increase your frequency. The more that you practice is the more that you increase your frequency. So put your talents into the world and see what happens. Put your gifts into the world and see what happens. Also allow yourself to take some time for yourself, because I believe that when we are alone, we actually open the space for authenticity to come in. We actually open the space for love to come in. We open the space for creativity to come in. So it's about really expanding and improving the relationship that you have with yourself, because again, everything that is happening in your life is happening in relationship with your own state of consciousness. And I realized that the mind actually creates reality. There is the principle of mentalism that says that everything is actually mental. So what are your thoughts for today? Do you live in harmony with your true self, or do you live in resistance with your true self? Do you create or do you stagnate? So it's about really recognizing the vibration that you are into and getting to actually improve that state of consciousness, getting to improve that energy. So my suggestion is ask yourself, what is your energy today? What is your energy today? And ask yourself, how can you improve it? Because small actions open big doors. Small steps will lead you into the destination. And what I'm realizing is the fact that I'm not perfect. You don't have to expect perfection in your soul's mission. You don't have to expect perfection in your soul's mission. All that you gotta do is learn to trust. Trust even the not so perfect moments. Trust that you are all at the right moment at the right time. You know, and you don't have to be perfect in the process. This is what I'm realizing for myself right now. I don't have to be perfect in the process. All that I gotta do is actually learn to make the imperfections become perfections, because everything is perfect in its imperfection. And really, the sole purpose is about really raising our frequency to the next level. Raising our frequency to the next level. And we live in times where we do have this opportunity to raise our energy to the next level, to become more in tune with our intuition. And yes, the higher self actually speaks to us through our intuition. So what is your intuition telling you? What are your feelings telling you? And the higher self actually speaks to us through our feelings. Do you listen to your feelings, or are you in resistance to your feelings? And it's usually about acceptance. Get to accept what you feel. This is how to raise your frequency. Get to accept what you feel. And even if you feel negative, realize that there is purpose in also feeling negative. There is something to be learned in feeling negative. And it's not perfect, trust me. So yeah, the soul mission happens for the planet to actually raise its frequency. And yes, we live in times of awakening. And yes, things are not perfect, but in a way they are happening with a higher purpose. And that purpose is for us to actually connect into oneness. So my suggestion is get to share your gifts with the world. This is how to step into your soul's mission. Get to raise your frequency to the next level and get to step into radical action, because that is important. At the same time, again, it's not always about action. It's more likely about the state of beingness. You don't have to rush things to happen. You don't have to force things to happen. You don't have to be in a fight or flight mode. All that you gotta do is learn to raise your frequency to the next level, so you can actually begin to co-create at a different level, a more harmonious level, you know? So yes, everybody has a soul mission. Everybody has a mission that represents his inner talents and gifts. Ask yourself, what is my mission? Ask yourself, what are my gifts? And get to actually express those gifts into the world. And even if it's not perfect, you gotta give it a try, You gotta actually make something out of your life. You gotta open your heart to the present moment and get to actually use your gifts, you know? And again, we live in times of awakening. We live in times where the planet is actually stepping into the fourth density. And this is where we are beginning to actually smoothen our egos. This is where we are beginning to make a deeper connection with our higher self. This is where we are beginning to actually awaken to a higher vibrational reality. And this awakening is awesome. This awakening is something that they have predicted from ancient times. It started in 2012. And the frequency of the planet is increasing since then. And all that you gotta do is learn to connect to your heart space, because the intuition always speaks to you. And what I'm realizing in my own self is the fact that the more that I listen to my intuition, is the more that I actually increase my frequency. And the law of vibration says that everything is actually energy. You attract based on the energy that you have. So if your energy is low, then you will attract low vibrational things into your life. If your energy is high, then you will attract high vibrational things into your life. So it's all a process of giving and receiving, cause and effect. What is your energy today? Because your feelings, thoughts, and action actually define your energy field. If your energy is high, then you will attract high vibrational things. If your energy is of a low vibration, then you will attract low vibrational things. So it's about really getting to know yourself in the process. Because there is a beautiful saying that says that if you know yourself, you will also know the universe. And if you know yourself, you will know the secrets of life. So get to know yourself, get to accept yourself, get to accept your perfections, and also get to accept your imperfections. It's about self-love. If you love yourself, you win. So yeah, it's important to actually keep a attitude that will reveal that inner signature, that unique soul signature, because you are gifted. And in these times of awakening, when we are awakening to high vibrational reality, we are actually revealing our gifts and talents. We are revealing our potential. So it's about learning to connect to your inner guidance, learning to connect to your inner self, learning to connect to that state of consciousness that fits you best. So it's about really getting to ask yourself the big questions, because big questions will reveal big answers. You know, questions like, who am I? What is my purpose here? How can I improve myself? You know, when you're putting the question to yourself honestly, you will also open the space for answers to come in. So it's about really getting to know yourself, you know, because when you know yourself, you also open the space for potential. If you don't know yourself, you will actually live in stagnation. If you don't question yourself, you will actually live in stagnation. And what I'm realizing is the fact that life is about being fulfilled, you know, life is about being lived. Because me myself in my past, I used to actually be in stagnation all the time. And I still have moments where I'm attached to my comfort zones, maybe. But what I'm realizing is the fact that we live a limited time here on the planet, in this lifetime, in this incarnation. And we gotta wake up to a hard truth. We gotta wake up to our own unique potential. We gotta wake up to our soul's mission. So my suggestion is get to actually start to create something, and try as much as possible to not focus only on serving yourself in the process, because that is the ego. Try as much as possible to actually offer the world your gifts. That is the higher self, you know, because when you live in a more connected state of consciousness, you realize that we are actually one tribe, one family. We are all connected into oneness. So what you express out there will actually will return back into your own state of consciousness. So my suggestion is try as much as possible to leave your ego behind and step into your higher vibrational self. Step into that self that is represented by intuition, love, peace, harmony. And what I'm realizing is the fact that yes, we are all one consciousness. You know, we are in a fifth dimensional level of consciousness. Everything is one energy, one soul, one consciousness. And what I'm realizing is the fact that the more that we realize this truth, is the more that we actually begin to increase our frequency to the next level. You know, because when you operate as one consciousness, you realize that you cannot actually hurt the other. Because when you hurt the other, you hurt yourself. And this is actually wisdom. You know, it's wisdom to realize that we are actually one family. In my past, and this is actually a personal story, I have tried unconsciously or maybe a bit consciously to actually hurt the other. But what I was realizing was the fact that I was actually only doing it to myself. So it's about really getting to take responsibility. You know, when you take responsibility for your thoughts, feelings, and actions, you actually increase your energy to the next level. You increase your frequency into a state where you are just being free and you are being wise and you operate from wisdom, you know. And it's important to really get to love yourself, you know, love yourself, because without self-love you cannot win in life. If you don't love yourself, you don't have things to focus on, because now you have lost the relationship that you have with yourself. And I'm realizing that the relationship that I have with myself is so important in this process, because if I don't have myself, then I cannot have anything in life. If I don't love myself, I cannot love others, you know? So, yeah, the fifth dimensional level of consciousness actually holds the information, the action for us to actually step into our soul's mission. And the more that we understand how this reality works, is the more that we can realize that we are actually co-creating with the universe the reality that we are experiencing, you know. And we live in times where we are actually beginning to create our reality. You know, we do have the power to create our reality. We do have the power to attract anything that we want in our lives. We do have the power to manifest. But if we are operating from the ego, then the universe will actually say no, because the universe responds to you. You know, the universe doesn't give you what you want, it gives you what you are. So if you operate from a higher vibrational perspective, if you're operating from a higher frequency, then the universe will actually respond to you, because the universe is intelligent, and in a way the universe is you actually, because again, everything is one energy, one consciousness, and you attract with your state of consciousness. You know, you attract with your thoughts, feelings, and actions. But if you are operating from the ego, then you cannot have high vibrational actions. If you are operating from the ego, you cannot have high vibrational feelings and thoughts, you know. So it's about really getting to slow down the mind, slow down the ego, slow down the separation, and getting to step into oneness, getting to forgive, getting to become aware of what you are expressing out there, getting to become aware of what your expression is about, getting to become aware of your state of consciousness. So, in a way, it's all you. It's all you, you know. Everything that you need to deal with in your life are the things that you need to deal with yourself. Everything that you are experiencing is because you have manifested it at some level. So it's about really getting to learn to have your own way of expressing yourself, you know, having your own way of following your heart. And yes, I believe in free will. I believe in the fact that everybody is actually free to do whatever they desire to do. But the question is, are you doing the right thing for yourself and others? Are you listening to your emotional field? Are you listening to your higher self? Are you listening to that guidance that is coming from your heart? You know? And yes, the higher self is our future self. The higher self actually has seen all the potential parallel future realities, and the higher self is actually guiding you towards the most appropriate one. The question is, are you listening to your intuition? Are you listening to your feelings? And I realized that feeling is super important in the spiritual journey. If we don't allow ourselves to feel, then we cannot raise our frequency, because now we are being in resistance. And yes, of course, it's okay to sometimes be disconnected. It's okay to sometimes be in a low vibration, because you wouldn't know what happy is without the sad. Wouldn't know what love is without the fear. So in a way, everything is necessary. You know, even a low state of consciousness, even you not knowing yourself, even you not knowing what your soul's mission is, that is also okay to be experienced, because in those moments you get to actually find who you are in the process. Okay, so yes, if you are on the spiritual journey and if you are on the spiritual path, you know that you have a higher spiritual mission. You know that the planet is awakening. You know that you have come here on the planet as a starseed, maybe, to help the world expand. And on the planet right now, things are not perfect. We live in times of war. We live in times of separation. We live in times where people are still operating from the third dimensional level of consciousness and from the ego. But these things are also okay to be experienced, because it's only the contrast for us to actually awaken to a higher, deeper truth. It's the contrast for us to realize what true love is, you know. And you don't have to judge yourself for making mistakes. You don't have to judge yourself for not knowing what your soul's mission is. You don't have to judge yourself for making mistakes. You don't have to judge yourself. All that you gotta do is learn to embrace and love and accept yourself, you know? So, yes, realize that when you increase your state of beingness, you also increase the potential for you to actually attract a different outcome into your life. So it's all about the frequency that you are experiencing right now. It's all about the energy that you have. And your habits actually shift your energy. Your feelings have the power to increase or decrease your energy. You know, your thoughts have the power to create a positive or a negative reality. It's all about how you choose to perceive it. So my suggestion is try as much as possible to silence the mind, you know, because the mind actually uh, is a powerful servant but a dangerous master. So how do you use your mind? How do you use your thoughts? You know, are your thoughts working in your favor or are your thoughts working against you? And what I'm seeing is the fact that when I enter the heart space and when I let go of the mind, I actually open the space for creativity. I open the space for forgiveness. I open the space for higher consciousness. So I realized that the heart is actually the heart electromagnetic field is actually more powerful than the mind. And when we step into the intuition and when we step into the heart, we realize that yes, the heart is more powerful and the heart knows, the intuition knows. So it's about learning to stay connected to your higher self, learning to stay connected to that intuition and get to follow your soul's mission. So yeah, try as much as possible to realize that you are actually at the right moment at the right time. If you really want to follow your soul's mission, you gotta begin to trust. If you don't trust yourself, you cannot trust the universe. Because again, everything that is happening is actually happening in relationship with your own state of consciousness. You attract into your life the reality that you are experiencing based on your thoughts, feelings, and actions. How do we increase our frequency? Well, we step into the heart space, we accept ourselves, we step into a creative process maybe, we question the nature of existence maybe, we step into a higher vibrational density, okay? So yeah, guys, if you really want to follow your soul's mission, you realize that the secret is within yourself. The secret is within yourself, and trust me, things are not perfect, and you don't have to operate from perfection. All that you gotta do is learn to attain perfection in imperfection. Things are not perfect, and I myself, I am not perfect as a spiritual being that has a human experience. I'm not perfect, but what I'm realizing is the fact that it doesn't have to be perfect. It has to be real. Okay, it doesn't have to be perfect. It has to be real. So yes, realize that the planet is awakening and you are awakening as well. You may be on the spiritual path for a long time or for a short time. If this message resonates with you, it means that you can actually open the energies for you to actually follow your soul's mission. It's not perfect, but it is perfect in its imperfection. So, yes, I'm finding myself in moments where I'm beginning to actually raise my frequency to the next level and I'm beginning to actually co-create with my higher self. I'm beginning to attract different things into my life. And I'm realizing that I have to love myself. If I really want to follow my soul's mission, I gotta question, love, accept myself. You know, I gotta find that motivation. I gotta find that answer that is in my heart. And it doesn't mean that it has to be hard. It doesn't mean that it has to be a struggle. It means that I need to be in vibrational alignment with my higher self for me to actually step into my true authenticity, for me to step into my true power and my true gifts, okay? So again, if you really want to follow your soul's mission, it doesn't mean that it has to be a hard work. It doesn't mean that it has to be hard. It means that you gotta connect to a higher frequency, you gotta connect to a higher energy for you to actually make the connection between you and the universe for you to actually attract in your life the things that you want to you want to experience. So it's not about forcing things to happen, it's more likely about attracting things into your life. You don't have to force anything, because when you are forcing, you are actually creating resistance. And when you are forcing, you are actually telling the universe the fact that you don't already have the thing. You know, when you are forcing and when you are being in resistance, then you create a disturbance, and the universe doesn't give you what you want, it gives you what your energy is about. So ask yourself, what is your energy today? And try as much as possible to increase that energy with actions, thoughts, and feelings. Okay? So yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching. This was today's message about following the soul's mission. Yes, the more that we awaken to a higher vibrational reality, is the more that we actually make life easier. It's about questioning, it's about putting it into practice, but it's also about a state of beingness. You know, it's not necessarily always about doing. It's more likely about finding contentment and peace with where you are. Then the universe will actually take care of things. So remember, it's not your job to force it to happen, it's more likely your job to allow it to happen. Guys, thanks so much for watching, and this was today's message about following the soul's mission from a higher vibrational perspective. Realize that we live in times of awakening, we live in times where the planet is actually awakening to a higher truth, and we live in times of a high vibration coming into our energy field. We are receiving DNA activations from the other galaxies, and everything is amazing, but things are still not perfect, and we have to also embrace imperfection if we want to really open the space for creativity and higher harmony. Guys, thanks so much for watching. My name is Seba, and if you're new to the channel, feel free to subscribe, leave a comment, and if you wish to be part of my spiritual podcast called Constantly Awakening, feel free to send me a message. Also, if you wish to work with me on a one-on-one level, feel free to also send me a message. Guys, thanks so much for watching, and this was today's message on finding the soul's mission from a higher vibrational perspective and reality. I love you so much, much peace, and see ya.